Welcome to From Rock Bottom, the podcast where we explore real stories of struggle, survival, and strength. Each weekly episode features honest conversations with people who faced mental health battles, addiction, trauma, and life's darkest moments, and found a way to rise again. A quick content warning: some of the topics we discuss may be distressing or triggering. We talk openly about mental health, addiction, and other sensitive issues. Please listen with care, and if you need to, take a break or reach out for support. You're not alone, and this space is here to remind you of that.
Boom, and we are on. Today I'm joined by Mike, who's going to share with us his heartbreaking story of being a victim of paternity fraud and then being falsely accused of domestic abuse allegations, and then the work he does now for his own organisations helping people who are going through similar. Mike, how are you doing?
I am absolutely fine. How are you?
I'm perfect, thank you. Thank you for travelling here today, I do appreciate it.
No problem. The M6 is always a challenge, but it was worth it.
Right, Mike, just like everyone, I know your main story starts in later life, but I just want to touch on childhood, your experiences.
Sure. So I was born in Manchester, in a council estate called Wythenshawe, which is in the south of Manchester, near Manchester Airport. Grew up in council house, like many of us did in that area. Fairly poor background. Mum and dad weren't particularly well off, but we always had enough. I'm not saying we lived in poverty, you know. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say no, we didn't. But yeah, went to comprehensive school, high school, nothing to write home about really. Left school at normal age and got into accountancy of all things at first, which I hated. I did that for many years, and then in my mid-20s, I've always had a love for music. I can't sing, or I'm pretty average if I do try now. Can't play an instrument, so I thought I'd become a DJ instead. And I did, and I made a really good success of it as a mobile DJ. I put a lot of work into it, built my own business up, and then that'll come to a crashing end, and not near COVID.
Yeah. So, normal upbringing, mom, dad. Yeah. How was your mental health growing up? Anything stand out?
I can quite clearly say now that I suffered from depression from in my early teens, and that went on for about 20 years. Okay. I'd say. It was certainly when I was growing up. This is, I was a teenager in the 90s, so I was born in the late 70s, and this is the 90s. I didn't really understand I didn't really realise I was depressed. Mm-hmm. And for many years it went untreated. So I self-medicate, which is a big mistake, by the way, if anyone's watching. Don't self-medicate depression, please. And get the right help.
What would you self-medicate with?
Alcohol mainly.
Yeah,
at the time,
just numbing it and using it as a mask.
It would take away the pain of depression temporarily. So it was a temporary relief.
Yeah.
And it's back the next day, and sometimes worse.
Yeah.
But I don't advise it.
Of course not. So normal growing up.
Yeah. Mental
health was a bit of depression, but that's hindsight now, realising it.
Mm-hmm.
So then in 2013, you got married, but take me just before that.
So this is a factor in my story. I was depressed when I met my ex-partner. And to this day, I don't want to be harsh on myself, but I don't think I was in the right frame of mind when I met her. I was dealing with depression. And in the year, 18 months before we got married, I was battling very hard with depression, but I thought I'd found a really special person.
Yeah.
The red flags were there,
How old was you at this point?
32.
32, okay.
When I first met her,
Yeah. So met this lady.
Uh-huh.
Seemed okay at first?
Seemed okay at first, but there was a few little niggling doubts about her. She gave me a bit of a sob story that every relationship she'd ever been in, she was abused by the male in it. And I fell for it hook, line and sinker, to be frank.
Yeah.
Completely believed her. Well, there's no way women don't lie about abuse, or it's rare. That's the mistaken belief.
You don't like to think the person you're actually in love with is going to lie about something like that.
That is correct. But I noticed when she was around this ex-partner, because they had a child together, that she was a single mother by this point. She was very friendly. Didn't seem scared of him. Almost flirtatious, and I thought it was very odd.
That's not a victim.
That's not, to me, that's not it wasn't even, you know, if she'd have said, oh no, I can't face him, can you help with that? No, none of that.
Yeah.
None of that. So I just rationalised it and thought, well, maybe she's just being friendly with him just for the sake of the children. But now I know it was all false after speaking to him and obviously what happened to me.
Yeah.
But at the time I believed it, and then that was one incident of many.
And what was your opinion on this bloke? Because obviously she says to you, oh, my ex used to abuse me, and being a man, a protector.
I knew him, not very well, but I knew him before I'd met her. He's not the sort of man I would have thought was an abuser. I don't think he was a particularly fantastic bloke either, but it would have been a stretch to sort of think he was the type of person that would abuse a woman.
Okay.
So I just really thought, oh, maybe she's just putting it to once.
For the kids.
Just for the kids.
Yeah, of course.
And you know, part of me thinks, fair enough, there's the explanation, but obviously now I know different. Then we got married 2013.
Sorry, just to...
Oh, sorry.
Did you ever ask her, like, how come you're a bit friendly there?
No.
Just kept it to yourself?
No, I kept it to myself. Yeah.
Okay. Naturally, I think you would do in the time anyone would, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, because she's told you she's been abused. That's dark, horrible trauma. You're not then going to question her while she's being a certain way with her alleged abuser.
I would say, I don't want to jump ahead too much, but for people watching and listening, it is a red flag if very early on in a relationship you meet a woman, she's giving these big, deep, heavy stories of being abused in past relationships. And it's a bit of a, this is very controversial what I'm about to say, you may agree, you may disagree. If you're getting told by a woman you've just met that she's been abused in all the relationship, it's a massive red flag.
Yeah.
Do you want me to explain why I believe it is?
Yeah, go on.
If she's telling the truth about it, then there's a chance that she may have not healed and recovered from it, so mentally she could be very affected by it. And then you bring yourself in with somebody who's potentially not healed yet.
Yeah.
And on the flip side, if she's lying about it, you're next.
Yeah.
You're next.
Yeah.
And a question, when we get into the falsely accused network stuff later, is I ask on the helpline now, I say to every man I speak to, cast your mind back to when you first met your ex-partner. Did she ever tell you she was abused? And my records indicate 95% of the time they've claimed they've been abused in the past.
Yeah. So, had your partner been abused once, or did you say several times across different relationships?
The main, when I first met her, she was talking about the one previous to me. And she said he was everything you could imagine wrong with a man. It was him.
Yeah.
And then obviously I noticed that she was very friendly around him.
Yeah.
I think the fact I was suffering from depression at the time as well, I really wasn't thinking clearly. I really wasn't. That's not her fault I was depressed at the time. I really, in hindsight, in a period of depression, I shouldn't have got into a relationship with anybody until I sorted myself out.
Yeah.
In my opinion, that's until it was treated and under control. And then she did say later on in the relationship that other previous partners before her had abused her as well. And I've been unable to verify if they're true or not.
Yeah. So she's got a pattern of every man she's been with has abused her.
Yeah. And that's a big red flag.
Yeah. Victim mentality.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So you're noticing how she's with her ex, her alleged abuser, but you ain't going to question it because, you can justify those things to yourself. Yeah. But how's the relationship amongst you both?
It rapidly went downhill after the wedding.
But before the marriage, so before you
before
proposed,
before the marriage, great.
happy days, yeah.
Yeah,
So you
great.
thought this is the one for me.
This is for me. She's lovely. She's very nice.
Okay.
I bought into a damsel in distress story. I'm gonna save her. I'm Mr. White Knight, and I'm in there, and
I'm different.
I'm not like him. I'll look after you, you know.
Yeah.
And then after the marriage, the marriage started. It was downhill.
Yeah. So you got married in 2013.
Yeah.
How did it start to go downhill? What was the first thing?
I suspected early on that she was cheating. Talking months after the wedding. Oh, she'd always deny it. No, it's in your own head. You're mental. You're paranoid. You're this. You're that.
Deflecting. This is you. Problems with you.
It's me. I'm the problem, not her. No, I'm not cheating. And again, I've since found out she was.
And let me guess. You're being paranoid. You're being mental, and you're making me depressed. I know the drill.
Were you there? Sounds like you. That's what it was like. Exactly what it was.
It's deflection.
Yeah.
So, how long was this going on for?
So
your paranoia. Well,
it went. It for the first sort of 2 years. It was a bit of, I call it the okie dokie. It was in, out, shake it all about was that relationship. And again, I look back on it now and think, why didn't I just leave her? Why didn't I just leave her? It was clearly that relationship was unhealthy. Don't stay, but I did. But things stabilised around 2015. I remember this massive blowout in the summer of 2015, and then we made up again, and then it all sort of smoothed over. Everything was okay. She was working, I was working, and it was fine.
Yeah.
It was okay. On holidays together. Didn't suspect anything was going on after that point. And so I suspect now she's just got a lot better at hiding her cheating. But we're getting to 2017, and I'd had enough. I wanted out of the relationship.
Was that because of you suspected her with infidelity, or you just, people do grow apart?
A bit of both.
Okay.
A bit of both. I think it was in the back of my mind something may be going on, but I couldn't prove it. So I made a plan to escape. So my plan was, I told her, I booked a flight on the 7th of November 2017. I was going to Germany for a few days. And then what she didn't know was that I was going to come back a couple of days later. I was getting my stuff and going, and just going to get a divorce and write to her, or even go around and see her, but just say, look, it's over. We need to call this a day. So it was about 6 o'clock German time on the 7th of November 2017. I was in the hotel checking in. Now I was happy. I was like, great, this is relationship's over. A little bit sad because you don't get married to get divorced. Mm-hmm. But I thought I was happy. I felt a relief. I thought, right, I'm putting this behind us. This relationship's not good for either of us. And I'm not putting all this on her, She rings me up. I thought, she worked out on leave it. I didn't want a big showdown, do you know what I mean? I didn't want a big argument, because we have had arguments, many arguments. She said, I'm pregnant. And I went, am I allowed to swear?
Yeah.
Fuck. I went, fuck. But I was happy and sad in equal measure. I thought, nice one, I'm going to be a dad, because I was a stepdad to her child from previous, and I love that child very much. Treated him as my own. I thought, oh fuck, but also, well great, you're going to be a dad. Wasn't all for nothing. So obviously she didn't know I was going to leave, so I just kept the gosh shut. Came back 2 days later. I was delighted. My parents were delighted. My brother, I've only got my brother and my sister-in-law were delighted. We went to the doctors a few weeks later. It was the next week. Yeah, it was Wednesday. Came back. So on the Monday to confirm her pregnancy test was correct. She was pregnant. And then we went to a early scan. Because I think the NHS do them at certain points, but you can have early ones if you pay for it. It wasn't that expensive, about 30 odd quid. So went to central Manchester. I remember feeling so happy. Oh my God, there's my child, and we went to the market Christmas. I started buying baby clothes. February comes up, I think, was it after Christmas? Yeah, we found out after Christmas it was going to be a boy. I was even more happy. I thought, nice one, because I always wanted a son.
Yeah.
I would have been equally happy if I had a daughter, but I just wanted
every man wants a son.
I thought, nice one, I've got a son. Then we get to February, there was another scan, I went to that one. And then we had a big fallout in the March 2018. Huge fallout, and I left. She booted me out. And so from March to the summer, I wasn't at the marital home. I'd moved back in with my mother. But we carried on. I was still going to scans. There was this, there was that. Child was born in the summer. I won't say the date, obviously.
Yeah.
In the summer of 2018, I burst into tears when I held that child. I burst into tears when I held that child for the first time. I don't think I've ever been as happy in all my life when I held that child for the first time. And he had my surname. We rekindled the relationship. I thought, come on, let's have a go at this. It's just,
We're a family.
Yeah. I went back to the marital home and everything was fine. It was a lovely period of my life.
Baby bubble.
Oh yeah, I was up in the middle of the night doing his nappy and making sure, But by about in the autumn time of that 2018, I used to look at him and I could see her and her resemblance and her family, but I couldn't see me. So I rationalised that and said, well, some kids do look more like the mother, or do look like the father. The child in this case just looks heavily like his mother.
Yeah.
So it's important, anybody who's watching this with paternity fraud, that looks alone isn't the only barometer. Unless there's a very obvious racial difference, if you're both white and do you know what I mean? Very obvious, So I thought, there's no way she should lie about me. This is something being weighing above and beyond anything that
it's evil stuff.
This is true, So I just thought, no, do you know what? Child just looks more like. It's fine. I did confide in my family at the Christmas of that first year. I said, look, the child doesn't really look like me. And they just said, oh, Mike, no, absolutely, absolutely yours. And I think they was coming in good faith, by the way. They weren't, part of this plot or anything.
Yeah.
It was in good faith. They just
Such an absurd thing to think in reality, isn't it?
No, you're putting two and two together, Mike, and getting five. Definitely yours. And I was like, basically, I wanted to hear that. And then the thoughts disappeared again. I thought, oh, right, okay, it's just me being a bit whatever. So 2019, we get to early 2018, I decided to end the relationship for good. 2019, February 2019. So I left the relationship for good, left the marital home, but I can seriously say we had such a fantastic relationship after. I was going around nearly every day, video calls, personal visits, staying with me. I was very much a hands-on dad.
Yeah.
And the next sort of doubt that hit my mind was in the autumn of 2019.
So your son's now one?
Just over one. And I was out with a friend of mine, we'd had a few drinks, and he confided in me, he said he didn't think the child was mine.
How did you react to that?
I just thought he was being ridiculous. Absolutely not. No, she'd never lie. No, this is the false belief that I had. She'd never lie about that. No. And I rationalised the fact that the child looked more like his mother than me.
Yeah.
So I really could see the resemblance with his mother, and I think that's what kept it going for so long. People are thinking, why don't you do a DNA test early? But no, it's when you're in it, it's difficult.
Of course.
My friend who said that to me, I've got nothing but respect for him, because that was a difficult thing to say.
Of course, yeah.
He didn't do that out of malice. There was no malicious intent with it. It was a concern and he wanted to say it. And I considered what he said and I thought, no, there's no way that she'd do that. No way. No way she's like, oh, I believe that. Then lockdown happened, was it March 2020? So I spent more time with the child then because we had a child, those lockdown restrictions didn't apply, so I could go around whenever I wanted and so on and so on. So we're getting to April 2020 now, and he was playing in my car, and I've got thousands of pictures of him. Thousands of pictures of him. He's playing in my car, and he's got the camera up, going, I've got to play with the car, whatever. Took loads of photos. Later on, when I went to review them, there was this one picture, and he glanced, in this particular glance that he did, he didn't look like me. We'd established that. But he didn't look like his mother in this particular glance, and I went, oh my fucking God. And that my mind went, you have got to get a DNA test, because this is just rattling through my mind, all these thoughts.
Did you ever confront her?
No.
Okay.
No. She'd lie.
Yeah.
I think about it, they're not. So I was actually not working at the time, and so I was on universal credit because I'd had an injury to my shoulder, so I was just recuperating from that. I was on universal credit. So I saved up for a DNA test. It's about £100. A few weeks later it came. I went on the internet on how to do this, so it suggested to wait till the child's asleep and do the swab test, so he doesn't even know it. He never even knew he'd been tested. Wait till he was asleep, did the test, put it on the card, did mine, and I genuinely thought that once I sent this DNA test, it could have come back his mind. My rationale's perfectly correct, that it just looks more like mum.
Yeah.
And I can put this to the back of my mind because it was beginning to affect my mental health. And we can forget about it. She'll never know I did this test.
And you can sleep better.
And off we go into the sunset, because I loved that child and I wanted him. I wanted him to be mine. It was not an attempt to run away. I'm sure you'll find out later. Now, because it was lockdown, they were taking the time to do the test. Normally it takes 2 days, we're taking 10 days. And I was on eggshells. Couldn't sleep, my stomach was churning. And then when near the 10 days were up, I rung them up and they said, there's a slight delay in yours, we've got to do the reporting software's down, so it's just going to take another day. Now I now know why that is, but so on Friday, May the 15th, 2020, 4:30 in the afternoon, I got an email and it said 0%. And the child was actually there at the time as well. It was a visit, it was his day to visit. And I just looked at him and I said, he wouldn't have understood what I was saying because he wasn't even two, but I said, I'm so sorry. And I felt like I'd been shot in the stomach. And then my mother, who was very close with the child, I don't think I've ever seen her that upset in my life. Even when her dad died, my granddad died, I was too young to remember when my grandmother died. I was very young, so I've got no memory of her, even though I was a baby when she died. But I have never seen her that upset. My dad was in bits. So I rung my ex. I remember I was outside in the garden, pacing up and down. But I wasn't angry. I was just very sad. And I was very calm and I said, I'm not going to name her. Can you just come, do you mind just coming round? We need to have a chat. Why? What's wrong? What's wrong? I said, look, it's probably best if we just come round. No, tell me now. I said, no, please just come round. I'd rather just have a chat with you. So she got it out with me and I said, look, I've done a DNA test and the child is not mine. She just slammed the phone down. Didn't even answer it. And 10 minutes later, she ran back and said, I don't believe you. This is you're making this up. I said, I'm really not. I'm going to come round and pick it up. And I sensed straight away there was no remorse. She was trying to deflect. So I filmed the encounter. I can show you privately after when it happened, but obviously it's not for the public. I'd rather not, to protect the child. And she was so hard-faced. No apology, no nothing. I want another DNA test. No, that can't be right. And what happened then was, I remember I didn't eat for 1 week, I think. And she wouldn't let me see the child. She let my mother see the child, but not me. And then out of the blue, she just relented, said, go, yeah, you can meet the child. So we met him, and then just for a little while, I was seeing him, not as much as I used to, but I was still seeing him, which was nice, and he was still calling me dad. Mm-hmm. And we get a few months in, not long, about August time. And I said, well, we need to have a chat about what we're going to do about this. I've got nothing to say. I said, well, who am I going to, I said, I'm willing to adopt him, if you like, because I suspected that the biological father would have been a married man. I was right.
Yeah.
I found out who he was. And again, I'm not going to name him, I've got nothing personal against him. But I said, we're willing to adopt him. No, not confuse him. Unknown to me, at that time, she'd introduced him to his biological father. And we suspect it was earlier than the DNA test because something I didn't say earlier. So in February 2020, I got a phone call from my ex-wife and we were just talking. And she started going to this park in a part of Wythenshawe, which was not near where we live. It was a bit out of the way. And she said, the child, I'm not going to name him, goes up to people in the park and calls them dad. And I at the time, I was like, that is so weird. But I still thought, oh no, you shouldn't lie about that. But now I know what had happened. That was before, February.
So she's introduced your son to another man who is the biological dad and allowing him.
I genuinely believe, and this is my honest opinion, so she can't sue me, that she knew all along I wasn't the biological father. And I believe she introduced the child. My honest opinion was around February 2020, which was 3 months before the DNA test. And that comment of he goes up to people in the park and calls them dad was her admission without admitting it.
Yeah.
And it gave her some plausible deniability that if I was out with the child and he goes, oh dad, then it's like, oh well I told you, he goes up to pitch.
Covering her own back.
Yeah.
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 Whew.
So, yeah, in August of 2020, I was seeing the child. Not as regular as I used to, but it was on a regular basis calling me dad. And I wanted to clear the air about what we're going to do about this going forward, because I need to know.
Was you happy just to carry on?
I would have, because I made a very good educated guess that the biological father was married, and I assumed because he was married that he wouldn't want anything to do with the child, that I could adopt the child. But unknown to me, like we said, she'd introduced him to him. So I was seeing him at the same time as his biological father, which must have been, but I didn't know that.
Yeah.
And then we had a big bust up. We had a bust up because I said, well, look, I mean, I'm willing to adopt him. And she said something quite rude to me, and we ended up having an argument. And that's the last time I was in any sort of relationship with the child, was August 2020. But then she did something very unusual. She said, well, all your family can see the child, but not you. And that was like mental torture to me. So my dad, my brother, sister-in-law, nephews and whatever said, no, Mike, if you can't see him, we know that's just out of order. No, but my mother carried on. And that caused a huge wedge between me and my mother. To this day, that's never healed. So, had my name removed off the birth certificate, which is a very straightforward process in the UK. In other countries, it's not, really not. So if you're watching this in America, depending on what state you're in, once it's on there, it's there. But in England and Wales, it's a relatively straightforward. Once you can prove you're not the biological father, it's a very simple mechanism to get it removed. So English and Welsh law is very good on that.
Okay.
And then I thought, well, look, I was getting told different things. What I was getting told was the biological father is having nothing to do with him. So I'm thinking, well, I can adopt him. Let's get this to court and see if they can help here. So when I did file for court, I can't say too much about it. I'll keep it a bit vague, but I will do my best. Just I went in there in good faith, thinking that the father was nowhere to be seen. So her response was that the child is having a relationship with the biological father, because she's told so many lies I didn't believe her. And then she made false allegations of domestic abuse against me, absolutely ridiculous, but very, 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 very upsetting at the time. Now, I couldn't afford a solicitor or barrister. The wages I was on at that point, just enough to keep me head above water, never mind fine 15 grand. So I went with a Mackenzie friend that I found. She did a good job. Now, shortly after I filed into family court, I actually found out who the biological father was for 100%. Her ex-partner told me in private who the man was. So I did some digging round on him, and I was absolutely correct. He was a married man, but he was about 20 odd years older than my ex. And his children were her age. They used to work together. It was a work-based affair. And then initially, I could tell by asking people who knew them, because Facebook, there's a lot of people don't realise it. You find out a lot about somebody on Facebook, and I found out that he knew someone I knew very well. So I spoke to that person, confided in them privately. I said, look, I found out who the biological father of the child is. What do you know about this person? And I found out he was a good guy. My take on the biological father is he's a good man who's done something bad. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
He's a good guy who's done something bad. So, as we got into the family court, the allegations were thrown out, because the paralegal that helped me, she did a great job and got them, tore it to pieces.
The domestic abuse.
Yeah, got all them thrown out. It tore them to pieces, and just, my ex-wife is a compulsive liar, but not a very good liar. I think one of the allegations, we got 5 different versions of the same. It just something changed every time. It's just ridiculous. We could show it, just look, it's fanciful, it's not true. So we did a great job with that. But I didn't get contact with the child because she'd introduced him to the biological father, and I was in agreement with Kafkas that it would confuse the child it killed me. I was in floods of tears in that final hearing. But I said, yes, I agree at this point. I don't think it would be in the child's best interest if I try and make contact, because if he is having contact with his biological father, which he was, it was provable by that point, albeit in secret, because he didn't want his wife to know. And I walked away at that point. But my conscience is clear. I tried to keep that child. I tried my hardest. But I had to put his best interest first. If he was having a relationship with his biological father, it'd be a situation I don't want to be in. Yeah. It'd be weird for the child. Now this story takes a turn for the worse, because about 2 or 3 months later, his wife found out, and she's forgiven him, and he's walked away from the child. So the child has no father in his life. That, I think you can hear my voice now, that makes me very angry. We were prepared to adopt him. Biological father stepped into the child's life, albeit as long as it's a secret from his family. As soon as his family found out, he abandoned an innocent child that he made, and that to this day makes me sick more than anything. I want people to really think about how this paternity fraud and infidelity and things like that damages children. Please, and we've got to focus on that. That innocent child now has no father. Whether his biological father won't disappear, he thought I was his dad, and then I want to keep him, which he said no, and then it could have been so different for the child. So I attempted to sue her. There's two recourses of action. You can bring a criminal case for paternity fraud. There's no specific law against paternity fraud, so they have to use different legislation. So one of them is fraud by misrepresentation, which is under the Fraud Act. However, it's very difficult to prove fraud to a criminal standard, because what a lot of the women that do this paternity fraud is say, well, I just genuinely believe that you were the father. I've made a mistake. Yeah. There was no intention for deceit, and it's very hard. So I went for a civil case, which was the tort of deceit, which is a lower standard of proof, which was I had to prove in the balance of probabilities, and I had to prove 4 elements. Now in the first hearing for that one, when I tried to sue her, I made a mistake of using a paralegal for that when I should have really gone for a fraud lawyer. And the paralegal, it was way out of her remit. I think if she's watching this now, she really shouldn't have gone near that case, to be honest. But never mind, it's done what it's done. It was in good faith. The first hearing, that judge was so biased. I don't know why he didn't come off the bench and sit next to her. It was like almost scornful of me being there. So he made me do the particulars of claim again. I think he was upset about the particulars of claim, and there were some mistakes on that which the paralegal made. So we did it again. In the second hearing, it was a lot better, I must admit. It was the same judge. It was a lot better. I think it could have given him a bit more information about her character, which helped, because I think he began to say, well, actually, she's not some sort of little victim. She's absolutely not, because I really went on the attack in the second. And my claim failed because I couldn't prove that she knew. I remember I got to prove this. Is she knew all along that I wasn't the father, or was reckless to the truthfulness of it. I tried a recklessness argument to say, well, she was sleeping around, she must have known, but he wasn't buying it. I could have appealed it, but I didn't have the money at that point. So she got away with, judicially, she got away with it. And I remember as I left the courtroom, she was smirking like a Cheshire cat, this woman. But that's the last really I've ever been in close contact with her. That was a few years back now.
So we'll recap, we'll rewind you all the way back, and then we'll do a little segment. So you married her, she was a good woman you want to spend the rest of your life with. Relationships don't work out, people do have affairs, that's a part of life. Doesn't necessarily make them a bad person, it's bad morals. Then in 2017 you come up with a plan to leave. You flew to Germany, you rung her, said I'm pregnant,
Yeah.
Why do you think she called you? Do you think because if you could have, if she'd have told you in person, you could have doubted her, you could have thrown stuff at her about these suspicions of having an affair, whereas if it's a phone call, she can just hang up?
I think at the time, I didn't. Right, she was working in a school Monday to Friday, and then she got a job, part-time job at Manchester Airport on a Saturday and a Sunday. So I didn't, at that time, I didn't suspect she was having an affair at all.
Yeah.
Only when I found out the identity of this man, and then my mind went back. I remember after it. So I'm thinking, right, why didn't I spot this? And then I remembered, not often, but on a Saturday night or a Sunday, so she'd work from Monday to Friday in this school, Saturday, Sunday at Manchester Airport, 2 12-hour shifts, part-time. She said just a bit of extra money, which it wasn't, it was to get near this man. And now and again she'd ring me up and say, oh, there's a flight delay, I'm going to have to be a few hours late. Well, I believed her. I said, oh,
Yeah.
okay, right, see you at whatever time, I can't remember, see you at 9 o'clock or whatever, it's fine. She wasn't, she was meeting him.
Yeah, she was meeting him.
Meeting him.
Yeah. But why do you think she called and told you that news, that she was pregnant, and didn't wait to see you in person when you returned 2-3 days later?
Do you know, you're not the first person to ask me that. A few people said, oh, I would have thought she would have wanted to tell you to your face.
It's a big moment. Your first child as well.
You would, yeah, I don't know. I can't
Yeah.
answer that. Yeah.
Perhaps that's what I'm thinking. Perhaps she thought you could have suspicions. She doesn't know what you're thinking. At least if it's on the phone, she can hang up and hide,
Yeah.
get a story straight. Whereas in person,
Yeah.
there's no hiding.
I just couldn't contemplate how another human could lie about paternity. And I knew it happened. Yeah. We all know, I think everyone's aware of it. It cannot, but until it happens to you, you just don't think it will happen to you.
Yeah.
Every man that I've supported since, a lot of men who this, and I did at first, felt foolish. But how could I have fucking fallen for that? I'm a fool. But you're not. I'd say you're not, because statistically speaking, if a woman tells you the father of a child, she's telling the truth. Statistically speaking.
Yeah.
So you're not foolish for falling for it at all.
And that's your wife. That's not a one-night stand.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's not
That's
like
your
some.
wife.
Yeah, it's not like some. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was. Oh God, no, she didn't like that.
Yeah.
She was.
Of course. So you returned from Germany, happy with the news you were going to be a dad for the first time.
Yeah.
And obviously you're spending time, like, when I booked you on, I was telling my partner about you, and I tried to put myself in your shoes, because I've been there myself, obviously being a dad 3 times, I'm blessed. You've got excitement, you're holding the bump, you're feeling the bump kick. I'd talk to the bump, I'd talk to my daughters in the bump, I'd put my head on them, I'd sing, I'd give them a little poke and say, give mommy a kick. I'd do all that. Then I couldn't imagine doing that. Because you're building the relationship before the baby's
That's
even
right.
born. You're talking to them, especially then you're going to scans, you're seeing you're buying stuff for them, you're planning a life with that child, like being a dad. And then obviously you find out the gender, especially being a boy, being a man. Every man wants a boy, just like every woman wants a daughter. That way then you got a little junior, you can mould them into a mini you. And then she gives birth. You're holding this child for the first time, which is an emotional thing. I cried when my children were born. It's a beautiful thing. You have just produced a mini human being. And it's beautiful. And then you're together, being a happy family. Again, stuff doesn't work. It was never meant to have been back in 2016. It's now a year later. It's still not meant to be, but you did a mature thing. You leave, but I'm still going to be a dad.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And then you're obviously paying for the child, supporting the child, building the bond with the child. This is obviously a baby as well. Like I've got my baby turned to start of October. Still a child, like learning, like they're picking everything up. And then the story you said about your son going to the park and calling people dad. Like I've got a 2-year-old, and obviously I've got 2 older kids as well. But my children, my one child did it once, but it was a man with his hood up with his back to her, and she went, "Daddy." As soon as this bloke turned around, I was like, "Yeah, it's not my dad." My child was hiding.
it was a, at the time, obviously I did find it weird. It did put a doubt in my mind, Andy, but now I think about it, it was a very, very clear manipulation trick of.
She's setting groundwork for a lie.
Of course she is.
Yeah, groundwork for a lie. Yeah, it's
was.
quite clever,
Very clever,
but very stupid at the same time.
and foolish, because I don't think she truly realised that I did have a bit of a doubt. So I kept that to myself.
Yeah.
I think if I had a doubt, she wouldn't have said that. But
Yeah.
yeah,
So she's setting the groundwork. You've got your doubts, but people are putting you at ease. Understandably, they're going to do that, look, because that's a sick, twisted, evil thing to lie about and something to put another human being through.
yeah,
So, people naturally are going to say, "Nah, that's not." It's not in the realms of possibility. People are going to think, understandably, you're going to say nobody's that evil.
yeah.
So you're carrying on.
Comprehend it, can you?
Yeah,
It's just like we can't. We don't think like these people, do we? So it's like, no, can't lie about that. Let's think of a rational explanation. Oh, looks like one more.
Yeah,
There we go.
that's fine. Yeah. But your son's got a good relationship with your family, and then you go out for a drink with your mate. He says, "Listen." He tells you his opinion. You go back, do your DNA test, and you're waiting 10, 11 days for it. I couldn't imagine it.
I wouldn't wish this on anyone, ever. Never in a million. This is just what myself, my family, but also let's think about the innocent child here. Who's sat in, who's in this, in the middle of this, is an innocent child who, in his young life, has been torn apart by the actions of two people. That's his biological mother and his biological father.
Yeah.
Their own selfish actions, and they've not just ruined she hasn't ruined my life, she ruined part of it. Not ruined my life, I'm not going to allow it, but she's caused so much turmoil and heartache and anguish and mental distress to me, my family, but also the child. Confusion. No dad, one dad minute, me 1 minute, okay, right, bye, dad 1 minute, all being secret and visits in the park, right, he's disappeared now, no one. All down to his biological mother and father.
Yeah.
They are the ones that need to be held account for this.
Honestly, how did you get through it?
Well, I had 3 ways I could have gone with this. I could have took the law into my own hands. I could have turned in on myself. I think you know what I mean by that. And I thought, no, neither of those are an option. What's the third option? And I thought, well, let's put all my pain, build something. So something good comes from this. The first thing I did was I formed an organisation called Paternity Fraud UK, which is still up and running. Anybody in the United Kingdom, now this organisation, I can help people all over the UK. When we get to the False Accused Network, we can't, I'll explain why. But I set up a helpline, we set up a website, I brought legal professionals together who can support anyone who's been affected by paternity fraud. Because when it happened to me, there was no help out there. There was American stuff out there, and I made friends with Carnell Smith, who's an American campaigner. We talk on a regular basis. But there's nothing in Britain. Well, that was important. So I channeled my energy into building and construction and helping others, rather than either taking the law into my own hands or doing something to myself.
Yeah.
That's how I deal with it. Then, something I've noticed with paternity fraud is it's a taboo subject, this. Massive taboo subject. And I get people make inquiries that want to speak to me, and then when it comes to a phone call, because I need to get them on the phone, it's not an easy thing to do over emails, this. It's quite complex, the law. They won't speak to me. Or they'll, yeah, well, speak at that point, and they won't answer the phone. And I get it. And this appeals to anybody out there that, please, if you've been affected by paternity fraud, do speak to me. We're the only organisation in the UK that specifically deals with this. I know how you're feeling. You may feel embarrassed, you may feel ashamed, but that is misplaced. You don't need to be. The shame is on on your abuser. We were abused, by the way. We see it as a form of abuse, not as a fraud, really. We want the law changing on that, but there's no shame on you. It's on your ex who lied to you. So anybody who's maybe thinking that maybe a victim or they know they're a victim, then please do contact us for support. It doesn't cost a penny. Absolutely free. Just ring me. Send me an email with the details we'll put at the end. But please do speak to me.
Yeah. Like, I just can't, like I said, we've planned this now for weeks, and it's something I've been thinking about a lot because I'm such a passionate, hands-on dad. Like every episode, some shape or form, I'm talking about my kids. And I've always said, without my kids, I wouldn't be here today without them, because they make my life worth living. And I couldn't imagine being a dad to one child and then that being ripped from my arms.
We've got cases in our paternity fraud group where like one man was told he was a father of 3 children, raising 3 children, and then did a DNA test on all 3. 2 of them are not his, but 1 is. The worst, well, they're all bad. Every paternity fraud case is bad, but the most harrowing one is I can actually name this person publicly because it went through the criminal course. Is Ryan Hampson. Ryan Hampson was deceived by his ex-partner, and I can name her as well because it's been in the newspapers. Beth Fernley. She conned him into believing he was the father and used a fake DNA test. She bought a fake DNA, took a sample of him, and then paid probably 50 quid to get a fake DNA test on him. So she went, "You're the father."
Scary.
And then found out, similar like mine, nearly 2 years old, and then it all unravelled.
Yeah.
And then it was a fake DNA test. She actually got prosecuted for it. It's one of the rarest prosecutions for this type of crime, and she got a 13-month suspended sentence. And I supported him through that prosecution. And I went to Liverpool Crown Court in April to watch the sentencing. She just sat there as if like she'd done nothing wrong.
Yeah.
This is just something about these types of people that do this. And again, it's a minority of women. I'm not attacking women. You should all know that by now. I'm talking about the very small minority of women that are capable of doing paternity fraud. Every single one of them has refused to apologise for their actions to the men that we support. Not one has ever received an apology. I haven't.
Never will either.
Yep.
No.
And that's your closure. You're never going to get it, so just forget it.
Forget it. I couldn't. You've built that bond for like 2 years. You've been dad for 2 years, and then it's like a death. It's because they're taken away.
It's exactly what it feels like. It is like he died, but he's still alive. It's a living bereavement, and it. I have good days and bad days. I'm a lot better now than I was 5 years ago. When it first happened, I did contemplate hurting myself.
Yeah.
I admit I did. I didn't do anything. I didn't act on it. It was there, though. The thoughts were there, and that's when I had to move my energy into something else.
Yeah.
But this is exactly what it feels like. He's dying. But he's alive and well. It's only not far from. I mean, I don't live in Manchester anymore, but moved away, thank God. So the chance of me bumping into him pretty slim now.
Yeah.
Unless I go around to see my mother. My mother still lives near them.
Yeah. Sad.
Very sad, lad.
So you had your son ripped from your arms. He's now having a relationship with his biological dad, probably because the mom wants a relationship with the dad, so she's doing it as a sweetener, using him wanting a relationship with his child for her to get in there with him. But then in the end, he chose his own family and his own wife.
As soon as his wife found out, I have met the biological father. We've spoken private. Like I said earlier, I don't think he's a bad man. He's got into a situation that's just gone out of his control. I think the impression I got when I met him was I thought he was a nice chap, but ultimately he was left. You know, he's made a child. Then seen Child in Secret. As soon as his wife finds out, he walks away.
Yeah.
And if I could meet with him now, I've no intention of, I know where he lives and everything, but I'm not going to go around to his house. I've just no interest in doing that. But if I've ever bumped into him, I'd just say, why did you do that? Why did you have a relationship if you knew that if your wife found out you were going to walk away? Why didn't you either do one or the other?
Yeah.
When you found out, you either come clean or walk away. Why did you try to have the best of both worlds? And he told his wife apparently he told his wife a cock and bull story. It was a one-off, and I remember thinking, God, no, it wasn't a one-off.
How much did he know about you?
When we met, he said to me, he said, I knew you and her were having issues in your relationship. And I thought that's an odd thing, because you could imagine she was probably saying all sorts of nonsense about
justifying it.
Yeah, well, I'm unhappy in this and that, you know. I think he did the same. He was, I was unhappy, man, you know, that's why they did it and what have you. But to my best recollection, I don't think I'd ever met him before. You know, because you can recognise somebody if you've ever bumped into them. Yeah. His wife looked familiar when I saw a picture of her. I think I might have bumped into her at some point in my life, but I don't think I've ever met him until, you know, because sometimes you can meet someone, you might have met him at a party.
Yeah, they look familiar.
Or I've seen him in a pub, but I haven't.
Yeah.
I don't think I have. But again, I didn't think it was a bad bloke. But that bit with him is, I'd love to ask him, why did you see the Child in Secret and then walk away once your wife found out? Why couldn't you do one or the other? He could have said right off at the beginning, no, I can't do this. I'm going to let Mike adopt him.
Yeah.
Then it might have been different for the child.
Yeah.
Different life completely. No, he didn't. He wanted to still carry on with his best of both worlds, where he was this.
Obviously didn't think of the big picture.
No.
Yeah.
No.
So, obviously that's the issues with the DNA, the paternity frauds, which causes trauma. Tell me about the false allegations and of domestic abuse.
Sure. I want you to imagine, not only was I going through paternity fraud, then when I did try to keep the child, I was met with a barrage of false allegations. And I remember thinking, why is she doing this?
Do you think she did that because you've caught her out and painted her with evidence that she's a bad person?
Yes.
And she's like, I ain't having this, I need to now flip this round.
I need to make him look as bad as possible, so
Yeah.
I know, let's go with the
Deflection.
false allegations. Yeah, I believe so. That was as simple. It wasn't probably as straightforward as that, but I remember it very upsetting. And luckily, you know, a paralegal helped me with getting rid of those allegations, who went, analysed the evidence, and said, oh look, that's five, you know, one story, it's 5 different versions of it. We're like, come on. You know, other ones where we couldn't prove it or disprove it either. It was like her word against mine.
Were accusations physical abuse?
There was one. Yeah, there was one of them. The rest of it was like either coercive control, which I never even knew what that meant at the time.
Yeah.
So what? And then when I studied it, I thought actually I'm the victim of coercive control, not her.
Yeah.
A lot of men. We'll talk about that later. But yeah, there was all sorts of nonsense there, which we managed to get thrown out. The judge was very good actually, and just quickly moved them on. They don't tell these women that the false allegations, they move them on. I found that out. And I remember at the time it was very, very lonely. The paternity fraud got up and running, so I could speak to other men about that. But false allegations, I did look for organisations out there, and there is some, but not to the level that I thought would be helpful. It's still up and running, and I know the people that run them now, and there's nothing wrong with those organisations, but I wanted something very specific for people that have been falsely accused of domestic abuse, because they were a bit more general. One was more about supporting teachers and care workers. Another one was a very general one which covered a lot, and I thought, no, I wanted to be razor sharp, specific false allegations of domestic abuse. And when I set it up in May 2023, I thought it'd be a very small thing, there'd be a few people that heard about us, it won't be, you know, something I can help with on, you know, outside of work and whatever. The phone's not stopped bloody ringing. It's not stopped ringing. So about 8-9 months later, I had to form a formal organisation with our company now, to really structure this and to get sponsorships and money coming in, because this is took over my life.
Yeah. Do you find that scary though?
It's scary. It's scary because the amount of people this is happening to has really shocked me, Andy. I thought I was alone in this, and then when it first the calls started coming through, I thought, oh yeah, I've heard, but the sheer level it's happening to, it's just phenomenal. It's the same pattern all the time. She's been caught cheating. That is the most common one. She's been caught cheating. The amount of times I've heard a man say, well, actually, I found some texts on my partner's phone, and I challenged her about it, and the next day it's a police at the front door, and they're arrested for whatever they've happened to make up. And it's all to deflect from that.
It's hard though, isn't it? Because once, like, especially where I'm from as well, like if someone makes those accusations about you and that gets out, that is your label, and you don't want that label anyway. And never mind, like living in some areas, like you don't want that.
Yeah, some of these men, and then they end up on bail. Can't go back home.
It's going to affect the jobs.
Then they're mentally they're done in, and then they're struggling to get to work because mentally they've lost everything overnight. Financially, then they still could be paying for a house they're not allowed to visit. Then they can't see the kids, all because of false allegations. And then usually it's one person's word against another. I always look at the timing. The timing's crucial with false allegations. So you have to look at the build up to it, and it becomes pretty obvious that it's a false allegation. Pretty obvious, like we said, mine came through with a paternity fraud. The biggest one is being caught cheating. Other ones is like spousal visa scam. Have you heard of that one? Yeah. So that a man will marry a woman from abroad. It's happening to a lot of British men of Asian heritage, so they may think that they might want to marry a woman from Pakistan, India or Bangladesh, thinking they're going to get a more traditional woman. So they go over, marry, bring back to Britain, and within weeks she's made a false allegation, and it was all just to get a British passport.
Yeah.
They upset me greatly, them calls, because the fraud element of it. Just the scale this is going on is just phenomenal. And then we've had some really positive support from people out there, but we do get some feminist organisations that are like, well, false allegations are rare, and that is just simply not true. It's simply not true.
Yeah, I don't even know why they need to pipe up. Just leave it alone. Like, just leave it. Like, there's no need for your opinion.
So I'll go into this, and I'd love to get this out there, that the women's aid and these women's charities and feminist organisations say, right, well, it's 2% are false. Right? Sounds powerful at first, doesn't it? Until you look at what they class as a false allegation. It's where they've been investigated and they can prove she was lying. Yeah. But what they can't do is, right, it's the ones where it's one person's word against another. You can't prove or disprove them allegations.
Yeah.
You cannot do that. And then you look at on the other spectrum, about 2 or 3% of allegations of domestic abuse get a conviction. So can we not flip it round and say, well, okay, well, if 3% are convicted, then 97% are false. So this is what I mean, how you can twist that logic round.
Yeah, of course.
Here's the truth, right? We just genuinely cannot put a figure on what's false. I can't. Nobody can. It's impossible. But what I can say with conviction is that false allegations of domestic abuse are very common. And I want to say to people, if you do have a friend who says they've been falsely accused, don't just automatically believe the accuser. I'm not even necessarily saying you should automatically believe the person telling you either, but do a bit of digging and find out the build up to it. And if it comes up that she's been caught cheating, she's been texting other men, she's spousal visa or so on, start to use your common sense. Look at the timing. Look at the timing, please, and that will give you a good indication if this person's telling you the truth or not.
Yeah. So with your falsely accused network, your organisation, and your paternity fraud one.
Mm-hmm.
How busy are they both?
So the paternity fraud's quieter. It's difficult to get men that come forward. We get a few a month that come forward, and unfortunately, few don't want to speak or whatever. Which is, I get that, but I will send periodic emails. Say, look, if you want to talk, you know where I am. But when we do get them on the phone, they do benefit from it. Falsely accused network, the phone doesn't really end, doesn't stop. It just doesn't stop. It's just constantly ringing. Emails, help me. So what we can do at falsely accused network is, if you've been falsely accused of domestic abuse and it's recent, it's got to be recent or ongoing. You can ring me, or we can do it via email. I tend to prefer a phone call, but we can do it by email if you don't want to talk. So I get a full picture of what's going on. So I need to know exactly what's been going on. Then I call it triage. So I go, okay, right, you might need a criminal lawyer. We know someone fantastic that specialise in these type of allegations. If it's family case, then this is where it gets tricky, is that unfortunately it's very hard for a man to get legal aid in family court. So the vast majority of men can't afford a solicitor or barrister. We know some fantastic solicitors and barristers, but they're all private. Yeah. So unfortunately, the vast majority that come here can't afford that. But we have an alternative. That the route I went down with is with a Mackenzie friend who can help you with your statements and your paperwork and come to court and coach you and guide you and advise you. They still charge, but I'd say the vast majority of people, if you're working, you can afford a Mackenzie friend. If you can't even afford a Mackenzie friend, then we can still get you in the support group anyway, and you've got free resource to ask questions to the other guys, and so you're not on your own.
Yeah.
You're not on your own. So getting the right legal assistance is really important. I'd say to anybody falsely accused, and it's a criminal case, if you can afford a pre-charge representations lawyer, whether it's the one we know or another, do it. It lowers your chances of getting charged, because they'll go through the evidence, they'll start to attack it hard. Okay? In family cases, a common mistake men make is they think, all right, I'm on bail, I'm going to wait until I'm off bail and the police will no further action me, and I can go to family court and I'll get contact straight away. That is utter nonsense. The second you stop you seeing the kids, you need to take action. Don't wait. Don't leave it. Because if you leave it, you could be on bail for a year, 2 years, 3 years.
Yeah.
Then a new status quo's done. And the family court say, why have you left it 3 years? And here's the other kicker that a lot of men don't realise is, just because it's, let's say you get arrested by the police and then no further action, you think, oh great, that's it, family court will agree. No, they have a lower standard of proof.
Yeah.
The criminal courts is beyond reasonable doubt. The family courts is lower. It's balance of probability, so they can still look at the same allegation and they may still think you've done it. So don't wait.
Mm-hmm.
Get into court as quick as you can.
That is good advice. So, with your organisation as well, obviously I know you do a lot of great work. It's brilliant what you do to set it up as well, just driven out of passion and obviously through your own trauma. Have you found situations where men are using it when they shouldn't be using it, should we say?
Right, I'm really glad you've asked me that question. It's really important to answer it. I am aware, well and truly aware, that there could be people that ring us and they were guilty of what they're accused of. Okay, I'm well aware of it. But what I think people have got to remember is that we act on good faith. So if a man tells me he's innocent, I work on that basis and I get them the right help. But I am not the judge or the jury. That is decided by the courts. Okay? They decide who is guilty and who's not. Have we had a few where I think there may be not telling you? Yeah, we have.
Yeah.
We have. But that's a belief. I can't prove it. I wasn't there.
Of course.
I wasn't there.
Yeah.
But we then, we get them the right legal assistance, and then what happens in court, we don't decide that anyway.
Yeah.
So I want people to realise that we do act on good faith. I'm not going to be sat there trying to figure out if this is right.
Job, yeah.
Not my job.
Mm-hmm.
You tell me you're innocent. That's fine. Do it. If you are guilty, if you have been done what you're accused of, and you're in the family court, we say admit it. Admit it. The family court can get you on courses. If you've got an alcohol problem, they'll get you on the alcohol course. They're pushing you towards getting your alcohol sorted out. If it's drugs, don't go in there and try to pull the wool over their eyes.
Yeah.
Own up to your shit, is what I say. And get, you know, if you're in family court and you've done what they've accused you of, it will curry a lot higher favour with judges if you then try and pull the wool over their eyes and evidence comes out later and it's like, oh, please don't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's what I was going to say, like, because some men find out their missus has been cheating.
Yeah.
They will raise a hand in anger.
Yeah.
They might slap her.
Yeah.
But I suppose if that does happen in that moment, hold your hands up.
Yeah. We say hold your hands up, own up to what if there's a long list of allegations. Don't admit to something you didn't do, by the way. Absolutely not. I'm not saying that. But it will look better. Another common one men worry about, and they say, well, I have a bit of cannabis at the weekend, or I line a coat with my friends now and again. I go, right, well, just admit it then, it's fine.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily a bar to contact. Yeah, if you're doing it every day, yeah, of course it would. But no, I mean, admit it. They do hair tests anyway. You're not a bad person. You're not this, you're not that. Hold your hands up.
Yeah.
Don't hide it. Don't try and hide it.
That's good advice. So now moving forward for yourself, how do you struggle yourself on the bad days, memories, birthdays?
Because the child was a baby when I found out, and then contact has stopped since. It's if I see babies can be, it gets me. You know, if I see him, my mum pushing a pram or whatever, a little baby, and it's a boy, and it can, not always, but it can go, I can get that. I've got to be careful dwelling on it too much, because it can make me angry thinking about, but generally speaking, I'm a lot better than I was 5 years ago. I mean, I was inconsolable 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And like I said, I use my energy to try and build something that we're doing something constructive about this problem, instead of the other two alternatives, which was either take the law into my own hands or do something to myself. No, I wouldn't have done that. So I had to do what I did.
Yeah. What would you say to anyone else listening right now who's going through what you went through?
Can I go a little bit further before that? Is that all right?
Yeah.
I'm going to say, if you suspect a child isn't yours, okay, you're not going mad. There may be a very good reason why. I would like you to actually contact me first before you do it, because there's a lot of implications. It's not a straight. The pre-bit is quite complicated. There's a lot of things that could happen that I need to explain to you that it'd take me a while to do here. I would prefer it if you contacted me. But ultimately, I always say the truth's best coming out, because the child needs to know who the biological father is, and every man deserves the right, I believe, to know for sure that the children they're raising are theirs. But if you do doubt it, then I would contact us first. Certainly consult with, if you don't want to contact me, then at least speak to a lawyer about the legalities of doing a DNA test. If you're on the birth certificate, you can do a DNA test without the mother knowing. And then there's another factor that comes into play, their age as well. So especially if it's a child, like I did, I just did it behind the back.
Yeah.
And legally, I checked that's fine. But do check with the lawyer first. And then what will be. I mean, if you're the father, happy days, great. Get on with your life. But if it's not, then this you need to speak to us, and we can get you the right. And the next step is fairly complex as well. But the truth is always best coming out. I think people need to know who the biological father is. I think men now, in today's modern age, we're calling for mandatory DNA testing at birth. So we don't see why, with technology, why every child can't be tested against their alleged father.
Yeah.
We believe that would deter women from doing it in the first place. And the ones that are remaining, they can be caught at birth. So before the attachments start, before this, before all that. And I can assure you, if I'd have known at birth that I wasn't the father, this would have been a hell of a lot easier to deal with than 2 years later. And some men, it's when they're adults and they find out.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we need to, I think as a society, we've got to stop this taboo subject. It's been hidden away for far too long, and let's do something about it.
Yeah. I think where you say it should be done at birth, before a real bond's really made. But like I said earlier on,
it can happen in. Oh yeah, you're right.
Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely,
You've already had that 9-month bond, haven't you? And
I go along with the thing that if a woman knows that she's pregnant, let's say she's married or in a relationship, she knew it was somebody else who's not in the relationship, because she'll know in this
what's coming
future, what we're hoping happens is it's going to be a mandatory DNA testing at birth. We think they're either going to tell the truth, they're going to admit it early on, or say, look, get both your men together, say, right, look, I'm pregnant, I'm keeping the child. Could be you or could be you, I'm not sure. But a woman, more often than not, knows exactly who the biological father of a child is. And there is some that are very promiscuous who actually could be that promiscuous that it could be in multiple. So paternity fraud, I find it fanciful when they say, oh, they made an accident, they've got it by accident, you just made mistakes. Utter nonsense.
Yeah.
Utter nonsense.
So what's the plans moving forward now for you two organisations?
So Paternity Fraud UK, we have been meeting with MPs. So a delegation from our organisation went down to speak to Sarah Hall, who's Ryan Hampson's local MP up in Warrington. That was a positive meeting with MPs. I've been in the Daily Mail, I was on the BBC recently about paternity fraud. So we're raising awareness, support is there. But what we really want is two things: is mandatory DNA testing at birth, and for paternity fraud, a specific law to be brought out, which is criminal, maybe civil, or both, which recognises what we've gone through as a form of abuse. At the moment, it's a financial crime. They're using different legislation to try and fit it in, which is, this is Parliament's got to do this. So we want Parliament to bring a specific law in that sees it more as a form of abuse. We say we've been abused by these people that have lied to us. They've gained financially off us, but they've also abused us, and that's what we want.
Yeah, fuck the money. It's
what it's done to I spent money on that in good faith. I'm not looking for that.
Do you know what I mean? Money means nothing. Fuck yeah, it comes and goes, but you ain't gonna turn back time and make that child yours.
No. And
undo the relationship you created.
Mm-hmm.
It's honestly a truly heartbreaking story.
And I hope if anybody listening, watching this, please do come forward. It's not, you will help us to help others.
Yeah.
And we can support you.
Well, mate, last question, what I always like to finish on.
Mm-hmm.
You sat here today, can go back to you when you was at your worst.
Mm-hmm.
What would you say to yourself?
Okay, I'm now in my mind. I can see him now. He's there now. I'd say you're not going mad. What you believe's happening to you is happening to you. Walk away from her now.
Would this been 2017? Yeah.
You're not imagining it. This thing's going on. Get away. You're not going mad like she's trying to say. Well, you're not being paranoid. It's happening.
Yeah.
Get away now. Run away quick as you can.
Mm-hmm. Don't look back. Yeah. Well, mate, anything else to finish on? Anything you want to say?
I just want to thank you personally for inviting me here. And I hope people that too, if it's paternity fraud, we are there. We're out there. We can help you. Also, false allegations of domestic abuse as well. We are here, we can support you, we can get the right legal help. We have a counsellor now, our own dedicated counsellor who can help men. Again, that's private, but it's really relatively cheap. She does it, she's fantastic. And we have a support group as well, but you're not going to be left alone. We will get you the best support that we can.
Yeah. I will put social media links, phone numbers, websites all at the end of this, but how can people contact?
So, paternity fraud, we'll start with that one. Our website is www.paternityfrauduk.org. Email is paternityfrauduk@gmail.com. We are on Twitter, Facebook, and TikTok now. False Accused Network. You can contact us on our phone number, which is 0204 538 8788. Our website is www.falseaccusednetwork.co.uk. Email is support@falseaccusednetwork.co.uk. We're on all this social media: X, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, and might be something I can't remember. Yeah. If you do want to contact us, we can only on Falsely Accused Network we can only cover England and Wales only. Okay, so if you are from Scotland and Northern Ireland, I'm really sorry because of the law differences. We can't help you, I'm afraid. But there's an organisation up in Scotland that share parent in Scotland. They can help in family cases. If you're in Scotland and you're watching this, try them. Good, they're nice people.
Yeah. So there's options.
Yeah.
Right. Cheers, Mike. Thank you very much for travelling and for coming on and sharing your fucking heartbreaking story.
Thank you.
Cheers, Mike. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to From Rock Bottom. If this episode spoke to you, please subscribe, like and share. It really helps us keep doing this work and bringing these stories to light. You can also follow us on social media for updates, behind the scenes content and ways to get involved in the conversation. Most importantly, if you're struggling right now, please don't suffer in silence. Reach out, talk to someone, seek support. You are not alone, and you are absolutely worth life. Take care, keep fighting, and we'll see you in the next episode.